LangGraph's checkpointing mechanism enables stateful workflow execution with human-in-the-loop interruptions, allowing precise control over task resumption through persistent thread management. This artifact demonstrates how a simple essay composition task can be paused for external review while maintaining execution context via an in-memory checkpointer. We'll examine how the entry-point decorator configures a workflow with checkpointing, how the interrupt function pauses execution to await human input, and how the stream method handles both initial execution and resumption with provided review data. The configuration uses a specific threaded to maintain state across interruptions, showcasing LangGraph's ability to persist and resume workflows at defined breakpoints.
Import time. From LangGraph, func import entry-point task. From LangGraph, types import interrupt command. From LangGraph, checkpoint, memory import InMemorySaver. At task, def compose essay topic, SDR. Time sleep, 10 hash simulate slow operation. Return F, an essay about topic. At entry-point checkpointer equals InMemorySaver. Def review workflow topic, SDR dict. Manages the workflow for generating and reviewing an essay. The workflow includes 1. Generating an essay about the given topic. 2. Interrupting the workflow for human review of the generated essay. Upon resuming the workflow, compose essay task will not be re-executed, as its result is cached by the checkpointer. Args. Topic, the subject of the essay. Returns. Dict, a dictionary containing the generated essay and the human review. Essay future equals compose essay topic. Essay equals essay future result. Human review equals interrupt. Question, please provide a review. Essay, S. Return. Essay. Review, human review. Hash example configuration for the workflow. Config equals configurable. Threaded, some thread. Hash topic for the S. Topic equals cats. Hash stream the workflow to generate the essay and await human review. For result in review workflow, stream topic config. Print result. Hash example, human review provided after the interrupt. Human review equals, this essay is great. Hash resume the workflow with the provided human review. For result in review workflow, stream command resume equals human review config. Print result.
This code demonstrates a human-in-the-loop workflow pattern using LangGraph's interrupt and checkpointing capabilities. The workflow is structured as an entry point that orchestrates an essay composition task with a mandatory human review step. The compose essay task generates content asynchronously, while the review workflow entry point manages the overall process, including the interruption point where human input is required. The checkpointing mechanism, implemented via InMemorySaver, preserves the workflow state at the interruption point, allowing seamless resumption later. When the workflow hits the interrupt call, it pauses execution and surfaces the essay content to the caller through the streaming interface. The threaded in the config serves as a persistent cursor, enabling the system to resume exactly where it left off when the human review is provided via a command. This pattern is particularly useful for scenarios requiring human oversight in automated processes, such as content moderation or quality assurance. The trade-off is the added complexity of managing workflow state and handling interruptions, but this is justified when human judgment is critical. The streaming interface provides real-time visibility into the workflow progress, enhancing the user experience during what might otherwise be a blocking operation. Let's break it down.
Import time.
Imports Python's standard time module for time-related functions like delays, timestamps, and performance measurements.
From LangGraph, func import entry point task.
Imports the entry point and task decorators from LangGraph's func module, which are used to define workflow entry points and individual tasks in a LangGraph workflow.
From LangGraph, types import interrupt command.
Imports the interrupt and command classes from LangGraph, types, which are used for pausing graph execution and resuming it with external input.
From LangGraph, checkpoint, memory import InMemorySaver.
Imports the InMemorySaver class from LangGraph, checkpoint, memory, which provides an in-memory checkpointing mechanism for saving and restoring graph execution state during testing or development scenarios.
At task.
Decorates the following function as a LangGraph task, marking it for inclusion in the workflow graph. The @task decorator identifies this function as a node in the execution graph, enabling LangGraph to manage its execution, dependencies, and state persistence.
Def compose essay topic, SDR.
Defines a function named composeEssay that accepts a single string parameter topic and returns a string value. The function signature indicates it will generate an S based on the provided topic, though the implementation details aren't visible in this segment.
Time sleep 10# simulate slow operation.
Pauses execution for 1 second to simulate a slow operation.
Return F, an essay about topic.
Returns a formatted string containing the phrase, an essay about, followed by the value of the topic variable. This creates a simple title or description string that incorporates the provided topic.
At entry point checkpointer equals InMemorySaver.
Decorates a function as a LangGraph workflow entry point using an in-memory checkpointer for state persistence. The InMemorySaver instance handles saving and restoring graph execution state during interrupts or pauses, storing all checkpoint data in memory rather than external storage. This configuration enables the workflow to pause at interrupt points and later resume from the exact same state, with the threaded acting as the persistent cursor to identify which checkpoint to load.
Def review workflow topic, SDR dict. Manages the workflow for generating and reviewing an essay.
Defines a function named reviewWorkflow that accepts a string parameter topic and returns a dictionary. The docstring indicates this function manages the workflow for generating and reviewing an essay, though the implementation details aren't visible in this segment.
The workflow includes
an interrupt mechanism that pauses graph execution at specific points to wait for external input before continuing. This enables human-in-the-loop patterns where external input is required to proceed. When triggered, the interrupt saves the graph state using a persistence layer and waits indefinitely until execution is resumed. The interrupt function accepts any JSON serializable value, which is surfaced to the caller in the interrupt field. Execution resumes by reinvoking the graph with a command containing the resume value, which becomes the return value of the interrupt call. The threaded acts as a persistent cursor, allowing the same checkpoint to be resumed or a new thread to be started with an empty state.
1. Generating an essay about the given topic.
Generates an essay about the specified topic.
2. Interrupting the workflow for human review of the generated essay.
This line indicates that the workflow execution is being paused to allow for human review of the generated essay. The interrupt mechanism is triggered at this specific point in the graph, saving the current state and waiting for external input before proceeding. The interrupt function is called with context about the essay generation, which will be surfaced to the caller for review.
Upon resuming the workflow, compose essay task will not be re-executed.
This line indicates that when workflow execution resumes after an interrupt, the compose essay task will not be re-executed. The interrupt mechanism preserves the graph state at the point of interruption, and upon resumption, execution continues from where it left off rather than restarting the entire workflow. This behavior ensures that completed tasks like compose essay are not redundantly processed again,
as its result is cached by the checkpointer.
This line indicates that the result of an operation is being cached by the checkpointer, meaning the output is stored persistently for potential reuse or resumption later. The checkpointer mechanism ensures that this cached result can be retrieved when needed, particularly useful for maintaining state across interruptions or pauses in graph execution.
Args. Topic, the subject of the essay.
Defines a parameter named topic that specifies the subject of the essay. This parameter is expected to be provided when the function is called and will be used to determine the content focus of the generated essay.
Returns. Dict, a dictionary containing the generated essay and the human review.
Specifies the return type and structure of a function that generates an essay and includes human review feedback. The function returns a dictionary with two keys, one containing the generated essay content and another containing the human review of that essay. This is purely a documentation line indicating the expected output format.
Essay future equals compose essay topic.
Calls the compose essay function with the provided topic argument and assigns the returned value to the variable essay future. This initiates an asynchronous operation to generate an essay on the specified topic, with the results stored in essay future for later use.
Essay equals essay future result.
Retrieves the result from a previously initiated asynchronous operation stored in the essay future object and assigns it to the variable s. This blocks execution until the future completes and its result is available.
Human review equals interrupt.
Calls the interrupt function to pause graph execution at this point, creating a resumable interruption that will wait for external input before continuing. The function is invoked with an empty dictionary as its argument, which will be passed to the caller in the interrupt field to indicate what the graph is waiting on. This specific call doesn't include any custom payload data in the interrupt signal.
Essay S.
Assigns the value of the variable essay to a key s in what appears to be a dictionary or JSON-like structure. This creates a key-value pair where the key is the string essay and the value is the current value of the essay variable.
Essay.
Passes the essay variable as a named parameter in a dictionary or function call context. The line demonstrates parameter assignment where the key s is explicitly mapped to the value stored in the s variable, likely for data passing or configuration purposes.
Review, human review.
Assigns the value of human review to a key named review in what appears to be a dictionary or JSON-like structure. This creates or updates an entry where the review content can be accessed via the review key.
Config equals.
Initializes a dictionary variable named config with an empty structure, ready to store configuration parameters for LangGraph operations. The dictionary is currently empty, but will likely contain keys like configurable for thread management or streaming settings based on the framework's typical usage patterns.
Threaded, some thread.
Assigns a string value, some thread, to a key threaded in what appears to be a dictionary or JSON-like structure. This establishes a thread identifier that can be used for state persistence and resumption in LangGraph workflows.
Topic equals cats.
Assigns the string value, cats, to a variable named topic. This creates a simple string variable that can be used elsewhere in the code to reference this specific topic.
For result in review workflow, stream topic config.
Iterates over results from the review workflow stream method, processing each result as it becomes available. The method is called with topic and config parameters, suggesting it's streaming outputs from a workflow execution related to the given topic and configuration. This enables real-time processing of workflow results rather than waiting for complete execution.
Print result.
Outputs the value of the result variable to the standard output stream. This displays whatever data is stored in result at that point in execution, typically for debugging or logging purposes. The output appears in the console or terminal where the script is running.
Human review equals, this essay is great.
Assigns the string, this essay is great, to a variable named human review.
For result in review workflow, stream command resume equals human review config.
Iterates through a stream of results from the review workflow by invoking it with a command containing resume equals human review and the provided config. This resumes a previously interrupted workflow execution, processing each result as it becomes available through the streaming interface. The command object signals the workflow to continue from where it was paused, using the human review value to proceed past the interruption point. This implementation showcases LangGraph's human-in-the-loop workflow pattern through a simple essay review system. The core pattern revolves around using the @EnterPoint decorator with an InMemorySaver checkpointer to create a stateful workflow that can be paused and resumed. The workflow begins with the compose essay task generating content, then hits an interrupt point that pauses execution and surfaces the essay for human review. The threaded in the configuration acts as a persistent cursor, allowing the system to maintain state across interruptions. When human review is provided via a command, the workflow resumes exactly where it left off, demonstrating how LangGraph's checkpointing mechanism preserves task results like the completed essay. The streaming interface provides real-time visibility into the workflow's progress, while the interrupt mechanism enables critical human oversight without losing execution context. This pattern is particularly valuable for scenarios requiring human judgment in automated processes, though it introduces complexity in managing workflow state and handling interruptions.
The checkpointer folds the essay into a paper crane, pins the threaded to its wing, and waits for the interrupt to breathe life back into it.